Well, welcome again, everybody, in ENTV to Dayland. Boy, that's a lot of letters to say right there. Hey, it's Paul Kellogg. Uh, I have such a distinct honor today to interview Dr. Rhonda Beckwith. I'm going to read this because there's a lot here. She is an empowerment coach helping women to build their self-esteem and create better work-life balance. She is a 26-year retired Air Force veteran, a licensed professional counselor, and she is a #1 Amazon best-selling author. So, woohoo, Rhonda! Yay! So, welcome to ENTV today.
Thank you. Thank you very much for that warm welcome and that wonderful introduction. Thank
Yeah,
you.
I practiced that mentally 3 times before I clicked record, so I thought I had it pretty good. So, Ron, that's such a beautiful, accomplished career that you have. What started you in all of that? Because you interviewed people, in your work in the Air Force and recruitment, and what began that career of working with people that way?
Wow, it's interesting that when you're a person of a certain age, and we won't go into what that certain age is,
No, I won't either.
that when I go back into the recesses and start thinking about, wow, how did I get to this space? And so, of course, there's so many different hurdles and bumps along the road, and so I ran away from, I think, what my calling was, and so sometimes you just try to figure it out, and I think about younger people now trying to figure it all out, and I was in that space as well, trying to figure it all out. So in that course, being on over here, being over there, and not knowing what I really wanted to do or what I was really, really good at. And you get a lot of people that'll tell you, "Oh, you should try this and you should try that." And by the time you try everything that everyone has said to try, you're still in a state of confusion. So I had to try to figure out how to get to where I could be most comfortable at. And so in that course of trying all those different kinds of things, and I would just tell anybody out there that if you have children that are going to college or you're going to college, have an idea what you might want to do, because you can waste a whole lot of money and a whole lot of time going from this major to that major to that major. And so I felt like I was doing that, and I had to then figure out how to get grounded because scholarships was running out and I couldn't do all those things. So I ended up joining the military, and I was only going to stay 4 years, just 4 years. And that 4 years turned into eight turned into 10, and boom, next thing you know, it was 26 years. And so that's how that journey got started in terms of where I am at this moment. Because in that course, when you stay at a job long enough, you start to run into different people, and then you really start to figure out what it is that you want to do. And so I knew, as much as I tried to run, I always knew that I was put here on this earth to really serve. And so you can serve in so many capacities.
Well, when you were in the Air Force, because there are a lot of people that are in service, either through the government, civil service, in the military, and so on. What was it that kept you going in that? What was the inspiration or motivation to stay in there?
I really enjoyed it. I loved the structure, and I ran into so many different people, and it was just an eye-opening type of experience to meet people from so many different places around the world, and then running into people that trusted me, running into people that said, "You know what? I don't know, there's something about you." And so I don't know what that it thing was, because I heard it before, but sometimes when people tell you things, you don't really believe them, because if you don't believe it yourself, which is the reason why I ended up writing a book on self-esteem, because sometimes things can get rocked, and so you don't believe it. And so when people would say, you have that it factor, you have this gift, I'm thinking, what gift are you talking about? Because I don't know, I'm clueless, I'm lost, I don't know what gift you're speaking of. And so in the military, when you get officers and you get other peers that respect you and will come to you for your opinion, your thoughts, your advice, that I said, well, you know what? Maybe there is some sort of magnetic connection that I have with people. So that was, part of, what was happening for me there in terms of trying to just, put everything all together and keep it moving.
Yeah, I mean, that's beautiful. and I'm as people listen to this, I hope they take a look at that because, when I what I hear you saying is that when you find that gift that you have or something, that can also help guide you towards that heartfelt thing that you really want to do, right?
Absolutely, absolutely. Again, I that's why I said that about the majors. I remember thinking, "Oh, you know what? I think I'm going to go to med school." I took a couple of courses, and then I got the calculus. I said, "Oop, this must not be for me." Then I remember the computer science and staying all night up trying to write out a program and those different kind of things. I said, "Oops, this must not be for me." And in the back of my head, psychology just never left me. And so I had to get back to my roots of what my calling was. And so in that, I had to really kind of regroup and reset. And so I would say, if any, for whoever's listening out there, if you have to sit back and reset and regroup, it's okay. Because I had to do it several different times. And, pretty soon you start to get into that mode of this feels right for me. And
So,
yeah,
so, Ed, so that a piece of that it factor that I hear you're talking about was very much integrated with the energy of people.
absolutely.
So people who are successful working with people, what are some of the qualities of that it factor that maybe you've identified in yourself or you've seen in other good leaders and so on? What is that it factor that makes them successful people?
You know, that's an interesting question because I know that that we talk about the word authenticity, and you do have to be authentic. You have to really be yourself, and people have to really be able to connect with you because sometimes people are so far up here you cannot reach them. So you have to come down here and be at eye level with people so that they understand that you're real because I don't know very many people that was born this great leader and everything else. So you have to learn to be that. So if you're willing to learn, you're willing to be flexible, you're willing to listen, and you're willing to then just understand people and meet them where they are, that makes a world of difference. And then understand what is your why? Why do you want to do what you do? And so if you put all those things together, then that ends up being one of the better leaders and or being a better person that people would want to gravitate toward because you are approachable. So,
Beautiful, beautiful. It's a real respect to the give and take kind of energy with a relationship, isn't it?
absolutely.
So in dealing with people like that on all those levels, and I know as a licensed counselor and the empowerment coach that you are, one of the things that I hear oftentimes is the challenge of maintaining the boundaries, of this is me, that's not me, that kind of. How did you work with that, in the military and in your career of keeping clear on where things begin and end in that kind of relationship mode?
Now I don't know if you want to know the real true answer, but no, I say that jokingly on that level just because I was pretty close with a lot of different people, and there were people that I supervised, and I was never in that mode, and I'm still not at this point of feeling like I am better than anyone else because everybody has a story, some worse than others. And so if you, and especially me, keep that in mind, that keeps me grounded. That keeps me over here saying, you know what, I'm here just because of, maybe some professional power or something, but I'm still a person and they're still people. And so as long as you kind of keep that in focus that they're still people, but in that with those boundary lines, not doing anything or saying anything that's inappropriate and or stepping outside of the realm of what you really, really can do. Because there are a lot of times you run into people, and I've run into them a lot of times as well. And they'll tell me that they can do certain things and that it doesn't happen. So I try not to oversell myself, because that's very, very easy to do. And I try not to be judgmental. I mean, let's face it, we're all real. Every now and again, you will be judgmental on something, but I try not to make that as my go-to method of trying to deal with people because again, like I said, everybody has a story, and everybody's human, and they worth, they're worth something.
I mean, that's a powerful point there, is recognizing the worth in anybody and everybody, no matter who they are, no matter how troubled they are. It's a real live and let live kind of feeling, isn't it, Rhonda?
Oh yeah. I I just I find it interesting along, when we're talking about the journey, um, of asking myself on so many different times whether or not if I was really genuine or not, because that imposter syndrome is real. And I don't know if anybody out there has experienced that or how many people have, but it's real that sometimes you ask yourself, is what I'm doing the right thing? Is what I'm is am I in the right space? Am I in the right place? And so looking myself in the mirror, I would ask myself that question. And if I felt something that was not right in the pit of my stomach, then I knew it wasn't right. So then again, it's like, okay, now where's your integrity? And so that plays a role in that as well when you're looking at dealing with people, setting boundaries, doing that. Where's your integrity? Are you doing the right thing whether you're seen or not seen? So that just kind of goes a long way then in terms of building those relationships that are lasting.
Beautiful, beautiful. We have people from all walks of life that watch these interviews in TV today. And now, that group now has grown thousands of people that are members of that group. So just a plethora of cultures, diversity, backgrounds, religious persuasions, faith, spirituality, concepts. It's an amazing thing. And one of the things that I'm always curious about when I do interviews is, where's that beginning point when a person is feeling that urge that there is something that's the imposter in them, but they don't know quite what to do to begin to explore or step out of that. There's this yearning to want to. How do you suggest, or what's a clue for anyone, no matter where they come from, that could begin to help them take that first step out of that syndrome?
Well, if they're having that kind of internal battle,
Okay.
and that's where it usually starts, at the internal battle. And if they're being really truly honest with themselves, like I had to be honest with myself, and I said something's not quite right. So then there is absolutely positively nothing wrong with seeking out a therapist, a coach, a counselor, someone that you trust, that is going to give you a real, true answer. Not really what you want to hear, but what it is that you need to hear to help guide you along that path. Because sometimes people feel like, and I know that I did this at one point as well, feeling like you need to be, I guess, like Superwoman. And
Mm.
so in trying to be Superwoman, Superman, super person, you do kind of take on that imposter syndrome, because you don't let people know when you're hurting. You put that mask on and you're just as tough as you want to be, but you're hurting inside. So if you're hurting inside, there's no need to suffer in silence. I would tell you that if that's what you're doing, please go and seek some help from someone. There's absolutely nothing wrong with that, because that's why they have all the professionals that are out there, and there's no need to suffer in silence.
And then, of course, you have people that are best-selling authors like yourself that bring that out. So, here I am in rural Iowa, and professionals are 100 miles away or whatever. There's always resources that I can at least get myself started in, right?
Absolutely. There are so many books out there that it's just amazing. But the book that I actually wrote,
Yeah, please tell us about that a little bit.
yes, this is a comprehensive guide to elevating self-esteem from authenticity to resilience. And
Mm,
so what made me write this book is I didn't always have the highest self-esteem. And sometimes when you are questioning yourself, or your confidence is not where it needs to be, then that could be something that's going on with you might be struggling with your self-esteem. And I remember being in spaces and places where I wasn't sure if I should be there. I wasn't sure if I had, the knowledge that I needed to have. Uh, there was times when I felt like I wanted to be invisible. I wanted to crawl over in the corner. I mean, all these different things that go through your mind and your head of feeling like you're not good enough. Where does that come from? Well, sometimes, it comes from maybe someone said something to you at a younger age. Maybe there was some sort of trauma that you went through. And so in that stopped you at that moment and you are stuck. And so if you're stuck, then you can't keep progressing forward. So again, writing that elevating self-esteem, how do we do it? So in this book, it allows you to read the chapters and there's reflective areas at the end so you can reflect on certain questions that will get you to think about where you are and where you want to be to allow for growth. And that's all that, that I really hope for anybody out there that they want to just grow, they want to progress, and they want to you hear this phrase all the time, but I'm sincere in terms
Yeah.
of wanting people to be their best selves because every day we're alive. We should be living and not just existing. And so what better way to exist than exist with the highest self-esteem, the highest self-worth. I know I feel much better, haven't seen a therapist, whole 9 yards, haven't written a book. I feel like I have gone from, I don't know, maybe 10 to 100. I feel really, really good. And so
Yeah, I mean
it's
that's just awesome. I mean, one of the things, my takeaways from just what you said is that a lot of times people just have to accept where they are because then they know where they are, and then they can now take, okay, now I want to move forward here. That lack of acceptance,
Mhm.
of okay, I'm going to deny, what's happening. It's hard to build from that, right?
Absolutely. And another part of that too is that sometimes people think they need to be perfect and or they compare
Right.
themselves with someone else. No, 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 no. You are uniquely who you are. So you have to love the person that you are. You can change
You're,
all the stuff on the outside, but inside you're still who you are.
that's great. I love in many of my interviews to ask this two-part question. It's so revealing to people watching because they can relate to it. What would the Rhonda of today say now to the Rhonda of 20, 30 years ago?
I would tell Rhonda from 30 years ago that you are just fine. I would tell the Rhonda from 30 years ago that you're going to go through some storms, but storms and trouble and bad weather don't last forever. When you're going through that, maybe that's a time to reset. Maybe that's a time to refocus. Maybe that's a time to regenerate and come out on the other side of it much better than what you were. But in every situation, there's a lesson to be learned. And even though it may be a hard lesson, it's still a lesson to be learned. So every day is a school day. That's what I would tell little Rhonda.
Resonate with that. Okay, so here's the second part. What would Rhonda of 30 years ago say about what she's seeing in the Rhonda of today?
Rhonda from 30 years ago would look at the Rhonda today and say, "Girl, you've done good, girl. I am so proud of you because you came from where you came from and you made it to where you are. Now, granted, there was a lot of people that helped you along the way, but you kept your head in the game and you kept your eye on the prize." So that's what 30 Rhonda, young Rhonda would tell Rhonda today.
Intrepid, courage, right?
Absolutely.
No fear. Wow, that is so poignant. That's so beautiful, Rhonda. Thank you so much for sharing all that. How can we get in touch with you?
Well, of course, you can find me on LinkedIn. That's
Put the
Rhonda J.
book up
Beckwith.
again.
Oh, you can find my book on Amazon. You can also find me on LinkedIn, you can find me on Facebook, and you can find me on Instagram.
I have one other question for you that just popped into my mind. And please put that when we get this posted, put that in the comments underneath it. It'll take a few minutes to get that posted, but please do that. But you're such an accomplished coach and professional in all this. If someone is looking for somebody to find help like that, what are a couple of keys or qualities for them to look for in that
Yeah, we froze.
helpmate? Can you hear me, Rhonda? Yeah, had a little bit of a glitch there, Rhonda. Sorry about that. So, question was, if somebody's looking for help from a professional, so on, what clue can you give them to start that process? What do they look for? Qualities? How do they start that?
One of the places that people can actually go to is psychology today. There are a lot of therapists that are out on psychology today. The bios are out there. They'll tell you what services that they actually offer. The pictures are usually out there. And so if you look at someone's profile and you say that person might be a good fit for me, then by all means reach out to them. And the one thing that I will say is that one size does not fit all. If you run into someone and you really genuinely are not connected with them, you're not going to get what you need to get from them because there's always going to be that barrier. So please, by all means, if you don't connect with that person, please walk away. Just find someone else that you actually connect with because I mean again, there's so many different people in the world and we just don't like everybody and we don't get along with everybody. So you have to be real and that's one of the times that you actually should definitely be true to yourself because
Awesome.
you are the one who want that service.
Terrific advice. Wonderful. Rhonda, thanks so much for this interview. It was so enlightening, so enlivening, and so thought-provoking. I know people that are seeing this are going to get a lot of value and want to connect. So, again, stick around for just a minute after we get done with the recording. And again, thank you so much for being a part of ENTV today. There you go, folks. Dr. Rhonda
Thank you very much.
Beckwith, Connect Up. Have a great
Thank
evening, everybody. Talk to you
All
soon.
right.
Thank you, Rhonda.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it. This was wonderful.
Take care.
All righty. Bye bye.